Well, it's now the 5th day of my floor installation. I've installed the insulation underneath, and today what we're going to do is we're going to install the flooring. Now, this is not the traditional method of installing a flooring whereby you install the insulation, then you put in the subfloor, which usually consists of a piece of plywood, and then a laminate type flooring that goes over top of that. And the reason why I'm not going with that method is, first of all, as most van dwellers are aware, a fair amount of condensation collects throughout time in your van from different sources, whether it be your heating sources or simply just by residing in there from your breathing. And that condensation then usually transfers onto your flooring and your subfloor. And what ends up happening is your subfloor gets a fair amount of rot. And that then requires you to remove the flooring, reinstall a new one, and that is just not something I want to deal with. So for that reason, I'm going to go with a different type of material for my floor. Another problem that arises when you put in some sort of a laminate material for your flooring is that over time, from the heat, the cold, that floor starts to shift and starts to raise. And that requires you to replace some of the laminate material in there. And again, not something I want to deal with. So for those reasons, and of course keeping in line with my promise of not using any power tools, I've chosen to go a different route. Now, the material I have chosen for my flooring is this right here. This is industrial grade gym style flooring that you find in most gyms, and they use this to protect their floors from weights being dropped on it. And this is really easy to use. As you can see, they just fit together like a puzzle as you go along. And it's easy to cut. You can use a box cutter. All you need to do is to take care in measuring out your flooring there around your wheel wells and some of the other areas to make it fit. And this comes from a company called Vever, right there. And it comes in packages of 5 of those mats. Now, how I found this material is by a fair amount of research on the internet, and I found this on Amazon as well, and I ordered it from Amazon. You can actually order it from the company themselves, but I got a pretty good deal on Amazon when I ordered it. And I ordered, I think, 5 of these packages, which turned out to be 25 of these sheets here. And it was enough to do the entire floor. And for this project, what you're going to need is you're going to need a cutting board, a rubber mallet, so that you can ensure that the pieces of the puzzle are put together properly and they stick. You're going to need a box cutter. You're going to need a marker, measuring tool, and a straight edge for cutting. It took about 3 hours to put it in. Not really that long, but however, be prepared because it does take a little time and you're on your knees. And even though I was wearing knee pads, it's still a little sore on the knees. So take your time, take your breaks, and work on it with ample time. I do also have a few extras left over, which I'm going to keep just in case some of these panels get damaged. I can replace them. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move the camera a little closer so you can see the finished product here. So as you can see, it turned out, in my opinion, I think it turned out very well. Now, This type of floor build may not be for everyone, but for me it's going to work very well. And the reason why I say that is because I've got about 3 inches of insulation in here, including the rubber flooring. And I'm going to need that because I live in a climate, like I said before, with all 4 seasons, and the winters here get pretty harsh. And I really don't want to feel cold. And when I have my heater going in here, I want to be able to have that heat trapped inside and not escape. So that's it for the flooring. It took 5 days to complete and about 5 to 6 hours a day. So I'm glad it's over and done with, and I can start moving in some of my gear. And that's going to start tomorrow when I bring in my bed. So it's been about 6 days or so since I finished off the installation of my flooring, and I've waited all this time to make a point about the buildup of condensation in camper vans and RVs. Now, since then, we've had varying levels of temperature fluctuations along the way, and we had 2 days where temperatures reached about 34 degrees Celsius, and that's about 93 Fahrenheit. But with the humidity, it was a field temperature of about 41 degrees Celsius, which is about 105 Fahrenheit. And we also had high humidity. And what I did was I went and checked in my van, and sure enough, there was condensation buildup in the windows, the windshield, and the side windows. However, underneath my flooring, when I checked, there wasn't any condensation buildup. And that's because I was using an electrical heater to pump dry air in my van to reduce the possibility of condensation buildup. Now, today, it's been raining for a couple of days now, and the humidity is really, really high. I'm going to show you the difference here. So if you look right here, this is my transmitter, and I keep my temperature thermometer indoors. This is the receiver, and what you'll see here is the outdoor temperature right here is 20 degrees Celsius, and it is 99% humidity. But if you look over on the other side, you'll notice that the indoor temperature of my van is 24 degrees with only 65% humidity. And that's because I've been running that electrical heater with dry air for several days now, periodically, in order to keep down the condensation. So the trick is, when it's hot and humid, you run the AC to keep you cool, also keeps down the condensation. When it's rainy, cool, wet conditions, that's when you're going to want to run some dry heat to keep down the condensation and keep yourself a bit warm as well. Now, there are a few things that you can do to help yourself out to get rid of some of that dampness in your van or RV and reduce the humidity levels. And one of those is get yourself a dehumidifier. But that assumes that you're either hooked up to shore power or that you've got enough power in your batteries to run a dehumidifier. However, you're also going to need the space to put one in there. So, but for some folks, that may not work out. There is also aftermarket items such as damp rid that you can purchase on Amazon, is where I found it, that you can place in strategical places in your van. And what they do is they suck the moisture out of the air into collection pots. Another thing that you can do is also stop hanging wet clothes or other things to dry in your van, because that's just going to put moisture back into the air. And of course, watch what you use for cooking. If you're using propane in your RV or your van, then that's going to create condensation inside your van. So you're going to either need to have something to reduce that, crack open some windows, or if you've got like a max fan or something, you're going to need to turn that on. But you're going to need some air ventilation in there because propane creates a heck of a lot of condensation. Okay, I think I've talked your ear off enough for one day. So before I close this video off, I just want to make one more point, and that's about your van. If you're one of the lucky ones, when you purchase your van, and if your van comes with a floor mat, no matter how dirty it is or how damaged it is, resist the temptation of throwing it out. And the reason why I say that is because you're going to be able to use that mat as a footprint to trace out your materials for your flooring and your insulation to make your life a whole lot easier when building out your van. So keep that floor mat, use it as a footprint. It's going to save you a lot of time, a lot of headaches, and a lot of frustration. Okay, that's pretty much it for this video. If you liked it, drop a like. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. We'll see you on the next video. Take care.